Hi, I'm Steven Betances. I work for Wychock Real Estate here in Northeastern PA. I'm a top producer in my brokerage. Also, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. So if you ever find me knocking on your door, I might be there to either sell your house, ask for your business, or try to convert you. You might just never know. Hola, me llamo Steven Betances. Soy agente de bienes raíces aquí en Pensilvania, en Estados Unidos. Aquí dejándoles saber a ustedes en las redes que pues estoy aquí para ayudarlos a la comunidad hispana, especialmente en esta área, ya que pues hay mucha prosperidad aquí. Y pues como yo mismo pude ayudarme a mí y a mi familia, quisiera también ayudar a las familias o a los emprendedores aquí en Pensilvania para poder salir adelante, como lo pudimos hacer nosotros. Pero sí, aquí a la orden, como le dije, mi nombre es Steven Betances y trabajo para una compañía llamada Wychock Real Estate aquí en Pensilvania. Well, what made me decide to become a realtor and be in the business is a few factors. My family has always been around properties. I have a grandfather and an uncle who have a very good business going on in Puerto Rico as roofers over there. And then I also had family members who were realtors themselves and also loan officers. So just being around that situation obviously helped me propel myself into the business. But the number one thing that got me into real estate was just seeing the joy that it brought me and my mom, and the stability that it brought us when she was able to purchase her first home here in America. So depending obviously on the client, not every client is the same. But if it's like a single mom and the daughter or son, just like it was with me and my mom, I take a lot of pride in helping that person be able to strive forward and have some stability here, just like we were able to have with the realtor that helped us. So that's one of my biggest things. But as well as people who are trying to get their business going, or maybe that have a lot of years in maybe commercial real estate or wherever it may be, being able to educate, help them out with whatever situations that they might have, problem solve, I think is one of my favorite things about the business, being able to find different areas or different things to do in order to get the deal done. It's extremely important to get pre approved, especially nowadays. Without a pre approval, you don't necessarily know your budget. We also can't strategize in order to see how we're able to actually use your loan product to the best of its ability. Also, we got to think about when we go out and search property, if you don't have a pre approval, well, you might not be able to go see the property. Certain realtors ask beforehand to have a pre approval in hand. So it's the number one thing that a person should do is get a pre-approval. That way they know how to strategize in order to get the property that they might desire. Well, if the person is not pre-approved, well, I feel like I could be a good central hub for the person. I don't work with just one bank or one person in order to get pre-approved. I work with a network of lenders. That way, if you come to me, let me know your situation. I would be able to actually shop you around, send you a few phone numbers so you could call them up and see who could offer you the best terms or financial options for you in order to get your property. So, yes, I could most definitely help you if you need to get pre approved. To me, one of the biggest myths that renters believe in, unfortunately, right now, that's keeping them from becoming homeowners is the fact that they think it might be cheaper for them to stay renting because they're, not taxed with being owners of a property. That might have been true maybe a few years ago when people weren't asked to cover the electric bill, the water bill, the sewage bill, the garbage bill. But now you're basically not only paying rent, but also paying for all the utilities. You're no longer including those things in the rent. With that being said, for most people, they're actually losing a lot of money doing so. See, if you go out and get pre approved and buy a property, you might be paying the same as your rent right now, but the difference is your property becomes basically a piggy bank. For the day that something happens, any hardships, and you might have to sell your property, you can and make your money back, maybe even double it. If you're a renter looking to become a homeowner, I would definitely fight for you. I would definitely try to inform you as much as I can financially. That way you can make a proper choice. It's very important for you before you buy your property, obviously, to get it pre approved, but also be able to know what you have and what you can afford to see how much house you could buy. It's very important for you to be able to know. That way you don't necessarily get stuck with something that you cannot afford. My favorite part about being able to help sellers sell their properties is being able to actually help them see physically their equity that they've worked so hard for, or being able to solve a problem that they might have. So I've had a lot of joy being able to help those sellers out, especially, for example, people that might have a property that was coming down from their grandfather that built it or whatnot. Now they had to get rid of it for whatever reason. Being able to help them maximize the equity in their property so it can help them out, whether it's a project, an endeavor that they might have going on. But it's just joy in seeing other people be able to get that money and being able to do whatever they need to do with it. So the reason why pricing a property is so important is because if you don't price it right, well, it might just sit. And if it sits, well, unfortunately, you might not get what you're looking for out of the property. Or we might be leaving money on the table if we price it too low. So that's why it's always important to try to find that sweet spot that might be able to actually get you what you need out of your property. Well, my marketing strategy when it comes to listing a property, typically three things. I like to be data focused. Therefore, we do something called the CMA, comparative market analysis. That way we have an idea as to what the market is dictating your property value or where it should be at by comparing like for like properties that compare to yours. That way we have an idea as to what your property could potentially go for. Number two would also be the needs of the seller. Therefore, if, for example, we could be talking, you might let me know a certain situation or a certain number that you might need to hit for X, Y, Z. And that's obviously going to be very important because, again, I work for you. Therefore, the seller always will have the last say. And number three would also be strategy. For example, if you have a property, if you're an investor, you have a house that you might want to sell as quickly as possible, get a lot of bids in. Well, let's say the house might be worth 100,000, but we're in a hot market where everybody wants to get in. We might want to price it at 85 to see if we could get a few people coming in, just to bid up the price. So it's just different strategies that you might be able to do depending on the property and depending on the situation the seller might be in. Some of the most important things that a seller must do before their house hits the market is, well, number one, prepping it, making sure that the property is free of debris, uncluttered if they can, of course. Not every situation is the same, but if they're able to at least make it presentable, that's going to be the number one way for us to actually get a lot of eyes on said property. But number two, for me, is also if your city requires an occupancy permit, it would be a great idea to at least get an inspector out to check the property. That way, if you can't necessarily do the repairs, at least we have a list of things that the prospecting buyer could come in, look at what needs to be done, and they could get it done in a timely manner. That way, we can have no bumps on the road when we're come to the closing table. Northeastern Pennsylvania is a great place to buy for investors for the simple reason that there's a lot of things moving in this area. Like people say, follow the money. So if you pay attention to what's going on, for example, in Hazleton, there's a lot of factories that are being built for the industrial parks, which obviously are going to help stimulate the community. We also have places like Nanticoke that's right next to Wilkes-Barre that has a booming commercial area. And then you also could look at the coal region like Schuylkill County, places like Shamokin, Shenandoah, Frackville, maybe even Mahanoy City or the Pottsville area, where you'll notice that there's a lot of properties at good prices with good bones that you're able to obviously facelift and be able to get a good return on investment. So yes, I think there's a little bit for every type of investor here. There's also a lot of commercial buildings in this area that also need a lot of, well, help. So again, with how all this investment is coming in from different areas, if you come in line at a good time, which is now, you might be able to see your return on investment maybe 5, 10 years from now, double, triple, quadruple, and so forth, just because you got in line at the good time. One of the reasons why I believe that you should work with me as your realtor is because I had to go through a lot of things in order to become who I am today. For example, I came to this country very young without knowing a lick of English in a single parent home. So I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to seeing loved ones struggle as well. In spite of all those challenges that me and my mother had to go through, today I am a homeowner, a proud one. I'm also a business owner and a successful real estate agent. So, with that being said, I most definitely think that I could add value to you and also help teach you what I now know. Therefore, I think that I'm definitely a great candidate to become your realtor and help you along the way. And just like I had to persevere through all those challenges, I could also help you in your situation in persevering and being able to buy your first home for your family or your first investment. Oh, and there's one last thing I want to also let you guys know. Remember, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, so I'm very persistent. As you know, growing up, I've been knocking on a lot of doors. Therefore, if you need to sell your property, I'm your guy. If you need to buy a property that you see on the street, you're not sure if it's being sold or not, I'm your guy. If you want that commercial building and you don't know who's the owner, I'm also your guy. I don't know when to quit. I'm going to continue on knocking on the doors until somebody opens.